Welcome to the day after Saturday. I'm your host, Jackson Juzang, and today we continue our hot streak, interviewing the most prominent figures from Haverford in sports, music, and entertainment. And today is no exception. We've actually interviewed this guy back in the spring. Sadly, that episode did not come out, but nonetheless, we're super excited to be here. We have Patrick O'Shea, class of 2018. He's a game planning analyst and advanced scout for the Dodgers. He's with his 7th year in the organization, and he most recently had the pleasure of being a part of the USA Premier12 team this fall and was a part of the World Baseball Classic team back in 2023. Mr. Patrick O'Shea, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah, man, it's great to be back. Let's get it rolling, bro. So we're going to just start with the beginning. The best place to start is with the beginning. Shout out to Chris for honing that phrase. So growing up in Rye, New York, man, like, how did you fall in love with baseball?
Yeah, so I grew up on a cul-de-sac, and we just kind of like it was nice. Our neighborhood had a lot of kids kind of my age growing up that all were really passionate about baseball. So we'd kind of just like play street ball in the cul-de-sac, with like the rubber baseballs, and dads would come out after they get back from work or on weekends. So the passion kind of took off from there. And then it was growing up watching the Yankees, pretty much every night with my dad, listening to the broadcast. And then it kind of just grew as I went through middle school, high school, and eventually at Haverford.
Oh, that's all right. Well, that's great. Just that you transitioned into Haverford. I was going to kind of get there anyway. So, what drew you to Haverford, man? It's like in the middle of nowhere in Northwest Philly. It's all nature, and you could have been recruited here. What was the draw to Haverford, and how did you find out about it?
Yeah, so like my junior year of high school, going into my senior year of high school, did like some baseball showcases around the country. Quickly realized I was not going to play Division I baseball, and like if I did, it would, probably not play that much.
Right.
So I was looking at a lot of schools that were similar to Haverford, where it's high academic institution with competitive sports, and just kind of like talking to Coach Beccaria, Nat Ballenberg was a pitching coach at the time. Kind of just fell in love with it. Visited it twice, I want to say. Once did an overnight, once just kind of walked around campus. And by the end of like the whole recruiting process and everything, it was kind of a no-brainer. So it was my number one choice. Did the early decision and everything, so everything worked out.
Hey, man, that's awesome. Well, obviously Haverford has one of the most incredible pipelines for Major League Baseball, and I just had the pleasure of interviewing Zola last week. And obviously there's guys like Josh Burns, who's, someone you obviously know very well at this point, Petiti, Levine. And I'm just curious, was that Haverford baseball pipeline something you knew about going into Haverford?
So I didn't know about it. I think that the New York Times article came out my freshman September.
Okay. And was that something you read and you were just like, holy shit, like, this is crazy?
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea. I just thought, I was going to play college baseball. Even after it came out, I was like, oh, that's cool, but like, I don't know if I want to work in baseball. Like that kind of hadn't reached me yet.
Right.
Didn't know what I wanted to do after college. So I think it was maybe freshman, spring, sophomore, fall. I was like, you know what? Going to be an English major. Maybe I'll try to be, like a member, like a journalist, member of the media, cover baseball, get paid to watch baseball. And maybe that's kind of how I can keep baseball in my life.
Yeah.
And then through talking with Jeremy Cole, Josh Studnitzer, like a lot of the Casey Fox, who I played with my freshman year, at the time they were all working in baseball. So, I think Haverford baseball has a special camaraderie. I think that's part of how it's become this pipeline. Like, we look after our own. Once there's some kind of interest of working in the baseball industry, like the people that have graduated in the past, even if you haven't played with them or hadn't met them, they would reach out, give you some advice, tell you kind of how to go about networking and everything. And, it definitely speaks volumes how many guys we have in the industry.
Yeah, no, I saw a lot of guys this winter actually go to the winter meetings. And I was curious, was that something you attended? I'm curious because I saw Lewandowski, who's, someone who's going into baseball. Harry's going into baseball. Dolly's going into baseball. Those are all current seniors on the team actually. And, that's a pretty cool experience to be able to go. I don't know if you were able to go this year or network with them, or if it's something you knew about when you were in college, or.
So I did go to winter meetings twice as a job seeker.
Oh, dope.
I've talked to Colin, I've talked to Harry, talked to Dolly a little bit. Zach Landry, who just got a job with the Red Sox, I've talked to him in the past. I think he got there after I graduated,
Yeah.
like 1 or 2 years after. But the winter meetings, it's kind of a weird setup because you're applying to jobs, and that's part of like the advice we try to impart on guys coming out of Haverford that want to get into the industry. Like, there's kind of like a set timeline to apply to jobs. So like starting like end of September, early October, you kind of send out resumes, try to apply to any listings online, and then there's some like Zoom interviews. And usually winter meetings is like, aside from COVID and the direct after, effects of COVID, it's kind of where you do the in-person interviews. And because every team's there, it's pretty easy to just go from like bounce around to 3 or 4 different interviews.
Right.
But it's intimidating. I went my senior December, went down to Orlando. I think I knew one person at winter meetings that was also going. So leaned on him heavily. Josh Studnitzer, who's with the Phillies now. He was I think he was in between jobs at the time, so he was kind of giving me the lowdown. And ended up getting an internship with Tampa Bay. Yeah. And then the following year, it was in Vegas, and I went with another Haverford alum. We split a hotel room, Nick Perez, who's with the Reds now. And it's a lot of just sitting around and waiting. Like, you're constantly like waiting for that text, like, hey, I have 10 minutes to talk right now. And, you're walking around in like a suit and tie, and everybody else that actually has a job is wearing like a polo and khakis.
Yeah.
So it's, you definitely stick out like a sore thumb when you're looking for a job.
Hey, well, it sounds like honestly you're passing on the right information. Now with you being in a position where you're in the major leagues already and working, you're helping out your fellow students. Like that's really cool, and to understand that experience is incredible. But yeah, like you said, man, when you started with the Rays, you were there for a brief period, and then you made your way to the Dodgers and working with Josh Burns. And I'm curious, I kind of asked this to Zol too, who worked under him for a little bit. Just like, what's a difference maker with working with a Haverford alum and having someone kind of take you under their wing and being a part of a franchise that you have a direct connection to via Haverford?
Yeah, me and JB don't actually see each other that often. He's really involved with the amateur scouting group. So he's constantly traveling. He visits a lot of our affiliates, like I do as well, but we just haven't really overlapped a ton. But when I do see him, it's great. Like, whether it's talking about how the Fords are doing that spring, or, we just signed Steve Ridings, who was class of 2017.
You guys signed Ridings recently?
We just signed him last week, yeah, or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, shit, dude.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to see him at spring training, so I've been texting him a little bit. But like, I was in Arizona in middle of January, and me and Josh Burns were talking, and he's like, Pat, we gotta get some more Haverford guys, man. Like,
yeah,
I think things had just had a pro day, so he's like, what do you got on Steve? And I was like, yeah, he looks healthy, he looks good, like, yeah, I'm all in. So thankfully I was able to work out, and it'll be fun having a third Haverford guy at spring training.
Hey, well, for someone who's going into the media business and interviewing all these baseball alums, I mean, I'm not opposed to, trying to get to a game, man, or, try to get some media passes. I don't mind. We'll
try to set something up.
All right, man. Yeah, sounds great, man. Man, and honestly, man, like, LA's somewhere I want to be personally. That's where I want to move to. I'm going to start a position with NBC in June. And nice.
Congrats.
Yeah, but I'm going to be in Connecticut. I'm sad because I wanted to be in LA so bad. I applied to all these other places, and the offers, NBC was the first person to offer me, or the first group to offer me. So, but nonetheless, man, LA is the place I want to be. I haven't been to Dodger Stadium. I've been to PNC, and I've been to Citizens Bank. But like, what's that stadium like, dude? Like, I mean, I know you live in Boston, but I know you've been in the stadium, obviously, and like that stadium is so beautiful. Like, I think there's a certain level of aura that stadium has that no other stadium can touch, like, in the league. It's also like one of the oldest stadiums now. So
yeah. So like I said, I grew up a Yankee fan, and it was so hyper focused on the Yankees growing up that I never really watched Dodger games. Like, didn't really even concern myself with the NL West at all. It was just Yankees all the time. And then through college, like, started cheering for the Cubs. I have family in Chicago, so like a little bit more of like, they play the Dodgers, get to kind of get a peek. Oh, Dodger Stadium looks pretty cool. And then obviously in 17 and 18, they're in the World Series, so the more national stage. But I had never been to LA before I accepted the job. So I fly out there, first day of work, I'm pulling in. It's like the office is in Dodger Stadium. Like you go to work at Dodger Stadium. I
Oh,
did that for 3 years. And it's a really cool experience. I think, yeah, to your point, it's the third oldest stadium in baseball now. And it's, Yankee Stadium's got like 3 decks. Dodger Stadium has 4. It's just being down on the field and you look up and it feels like those stands go into the sky.
yeah.
LA fans get kind of a bad rap sometimes about, showing up late, leaving early. Traffic is a total pain in the ass, so I don't necessarily blame them.
Yeah, right.
But when it's fully packed, like this postseason, the place was rocking. Like there were times where you felt the stadium shaking. They love their Dodgers, so it's a really fun place to go to work. Now, like you mentioned, I'm living in Boston, so I'm working remote and traveling to our affiliates. But when I do get back to Dodger Stadium, it's always fun. Seeing my coworkers, getting to be around the team, and getting to be at the stadium.
Yeah, man. Well, now excluding the knowledge of the, extraordinary history that the Dodgers have, when was the first moment you realized like maybe it was about the fan base or, again, like the quality of the franchise in general? Like when was the first like holy shit moment that this place is like different? And you could have just said it, but
I mean, I guess I didn't realize it at the time, but when I was interviewing with all the teams in Vegas when I got hired by the Dodgers, it was every team. It was like maybe 1 or 2 people would be at the interview representing the team, and you're sitting there with them. The Dodgers brought 4 people, and at the time, I thought I bombed the interview. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like that did not go well. Definitely not working for the Dodgers." But I think it was just the attention to detail that the entire front office has, the scouts have, both on the pro and amateur sides. Player development group working more closely with them the last 2 years. I think it's attention to detail and not taking anything for granted. Like, obviously winning the World Series is great. It's an accomplishment that some people don't ever get to experience working in baseball. Whether it's working in baseball for 40 or 50 years. So I'm really grateful for that. But the entire organization's like, okay, we win it. Okay, let's do it again next year.
right.
It's
Yeah.
wanting to celebrate it, but at the same time, not resting on our laurels and trying to stay motivated. And it shows with the people we hire. We have incredibly smart people and really the caring people that are driven to do better work and help each other out. So I guess in a long-winded way of saying, like, the culture, as cheesy as it may be, like the culture that the Dodgers have kind of created and cultivated is very, very impressive. And, going into my 7th season, like I'm very grateful that I ended up there.
Well, honestly, man, I don't think, again, to your point, I don't think there's a team with higher expectations that I've seen going into a season after winning the World Series other than the 2025 Dodgers. We'll talk about that later, but I mean, you guys, your team is like, I mean, the roster is just, I mean, I've never seen such a loaded roster, but anyway, man, I'm just curious, your experience now being a game planning analyst and advanced scout, like, maybe explain that to me, like in dummy terms. Like, what is your day in the life like?
So in the off season, it's fairly relaxing. You're still kind of every season. There's things that come up where it's like, okay, we need to fix this, but we're just gonna put a Band-Aid on it in the season. So the off season is a lot of like going in, updating some things, trying to give everything a refresh. How can we make certain reports better? And kind of taking those Band-Aids off and like actually stitching them up and fixing them for the next season. And then during the season, so I kind of have 2 jobs. The first one is the one I've been doing since day one, which is our advanced book, which is, you see coaches with like binders or iPads in the dugout and, looking at reports. A lot of those will come from the advanced book, which is kind of like a 30,000-foot view of the team, if you will.
Damn.
So it's anything that you would want to know about this team. On kind of the way I explain it is, how are they going to try to exploit us and how are we going to try to exploit them? So it's identifying weaknesses, identifying strengths, identifying different situational things they like to do. So that, it's every series. So in a given year, it's 51, 52 series a year. So that's going out 3 days before. And trying to give the coaches as much information as they can possibly need. And then we have other people in the office that are kind of doing more specific things. Like we have a guy that works with the pitchers, the pitching coaches, a guy that works with hitting coaches, positioning. So like everybody's kind of doing their own vertical. And mine just happens to be kind of that like umbrella look at the opposing team. And then, in the postseason, it's a lot of working with our pro scouts who would be on site watching these other teams and kind of bringing all the information into a presentation that we give to the coaching staff and the executives. And then the other part of the job, which is this is my second year doing it, is I'm helping our minor league affiliates. So like, double A, triple A, low A, all of them. Our goal is to kind of mirror our process of the big leagues to the minor leagues so that when players go up and down, they're not looking at something brand new. All of a sudden they have 4 decks they're looking up at and 55,000 people in the stands, and, they have to give interviews and get tickets for their family members. Like, making it as simple of a transition and easy of a transition as possible. So the report that they saw in Oklahoma City in AAA is the exact same thing they're going to see in LA. So it's working with the coaches both to, make sure that those reports are as close and as representative as to the big league reports, but also to help our coaches because, a lot of them have aspirations of being big league coaches. So it's kind of giving them a little bit of a
props,
a little bit of a look kind of behind the curtain of like, hey, like this is what we're doing at the big league level, like run with it. So it's been a lot of fun getting to know the minor league coaches and the player development staff. I mean, in years past, like they've been kind of the engine that has fueled our Dodger little run here in the last 5 or 6 years, or even longer than that, I guess, 8 to 10 years, where, we're signing these big free agents and making these big trades, but at the same time, like we're producing young talent that is either getting big names back in trades or, that are producing at the big league level and helping the Dodgers win.
Right. So now what part of the job, or not what part of the job, but do your reports get directly to, do you give your reports directly to Dave Roberts, or is there like some process where, or at least the coaching staff is able to get a hold of your game plan?
So like there's an email thread that I'll send the book out to. And then we have people that'll like make sure it gets on all their individual iPads and pieces get printed out. But like I said, I mean, I'm not the only one looking at the opposing team. Like we have a team of probably like 6 to 8 people that are, again, like kind of working in their own lanes. And mine just happens to kind of be an umbrella lane where it's a little bit more, you can kind of paint outside the lines a little bit, where it's kind of letting, like if we're playing, the Phillies, a big emphasis is going to be on, like Trey Turner's big threat to run. Like they have some guys that run, but they also have guys that can kind of mash. Years past, like when Schwarber's been out playing left field, like he's had struggles out there. So it's kind of like that. And then on the flip side, we're playing Arizona. They bunt a lot. They run a lot. They cover a lot of ground in the outfield. So just trying to kind of, you're letting the team kind of speak to you in a sense, and you're not trying to like fit them into a box.
Right. So for the World Series, you were in Yankee Stadium. That's pretty dope.
Yep.
Okay, so you were like, oh man, my childhood dreams are really, really on full display right now.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So my family's still all Yankee fans. So
I hope they switched up. I hope they switched up for this one series. No, not at all. Oh, shit. Okay.
No. It was the family group chat was a little dicey at times. So, but yeah, it was pretty surreal. The Dodgers are great. Like, the organization made it so like the front office was they do like a World Series trip basically. So they flew out all the front office employees to New York, and you got a +1. So I was able to be there with my fiance on the field after we won.
That's awesome.
I got to go down to the clubhouse and just hugging everybody because for the postseason, I live in LA for as long as we're in it, so it was a lot of late nights and early mornings, making sure we were prepared for each series, and then obviously it's the culmination of a long season, so it's just a lot of relief and happiness, and it was pretty cool to be there in person.
Hey, that was certainly a series, man. I mean, like, first of all, that was one of the, I guess, most nationally recognized, World Series. Obviously, you have the two biggest markets, and just like I was sitting there, like, what the hell happened? That was really the first time I sat down to watch like an entire series in the playoffs per se. Like, I'd been watching Pirates for, the last whatever 8 months or so, and watching Skeens and being excited about that. We talked about your prediction a little bit. You had 90 wins, and we got close. It was
What did you guys end up at?
I think like 85, something like that.
Right.
It was a bummer. It was still a bummer though. I was kind of bummed out. I thought it was going to be a decent year because we had a pretty good pitching staff. So, but nonetheless, man, what was that game? Game 1 and Game 5. I want to talk about specifically. Like Game 1. So you're in LA for Game 1, and that's just like, I mean, probably one of the greatest moments in baseball history, right there.
It was. I was sitting with kind of like, I guess, my boss. You get complimentary tickets, so his are a lot better than others. Like we're kind of the first level. So it was me, him, one of our amateur scouts, and the amateur scout's wife. So we're sitting there, and we had been sitting together the entire postseason. It was like our good luck. It's like I think we won the first game against the Padres, sitting together, me and Ethan, and then Game 2 we had given the seats away against the Padres. So we're like scrambling. So at this point, Game 1 of the World Series, like we'd kind of locked it in. I think we were like 4-2 when we sat together, and yeah, it was looking kind of grim. We were like, oh shoot, like maybe for Game 2 we don't sit next to each other. And then, Freddie's coming up, and there's all the craziness leading up to that inning. And Freddie's coming up, and we're just sitting there like, okay, just a base hit. Like, just need a base hit. Because he's dealing with, a rib injury. And
I know the ankle injury was horrible.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, okay, he doesn't have the same power. But he can still put the ball in play. He's still elite bat to ball. So we're sitting there just, basically praying for just a single. And of course, he deposits it in the right field pavilion, and we're going crazy. Beer's getting spilled on us. It was a pretty cool moment. It was definitely, going back to like I was at the Aaron Boone game in 2003, Yankees Red Sox.
Oh shit! Yeah, well, that's
and it was moment. Eerily similar to that, where it's just like absolute pandemonium, people jumping up and down, hugging each other. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, was it something you thought about just as a scout? Like I saw after that game that I forgot what the pitcher's name is, but that pitcher had like one of the worst track records versus left-handers, versus left-hand batters. I don't know if that was something you thought about like in the moment. You're like, all right, well, this is a pretty good matchup for us. Like I don't know why the Yankees are putting him in right now. I think that was some stat that came out.
Yeah, so it was Nestor Cortez.
Cortez.
Yeah, he's mostly a starter. He's pretty good against lefties. At that point, if I'm remembering correctly, I think the Yankees had just kind of like used up a lot of their pen arms, or maybe they had Tim Hill, another lefty, available out in the pen. But Cortez, he'd been a starter for the last couple of years, hadn't pitched. I think he was hurt, had just come off the IL. So he hadn't pitched in almost a month. And I think that was kind of like the debate of, like, it's a good matchup on paper, but I think some of the questions were like, okay, well, he hasn't pitched in a really long time, so is he fully healthy? Is he fresh? Is is he maybe a little rusty? Like, whatever it may be, but I think the matchup itself was probably a good one for the Yankees to pull. It's just kind of in that moment.
Yeah, no, I think a moment like that, and I think honestly that whole Game 5 collapse in the fifth inning was like another one of those holy shit moments. And honestly, I asked Zoe this question, but I'll also ask you because you're probably more understanding of the analytics as of right now. Just like that whole fifth inning, like what is the chance something like that ever happens? Like ever? Like what's that looks so like out of ordinary, man. Like I've never seen a just an inning like that. Like that was just one of the craziest, shittiest innings of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen some innings like that.
But out of the Yankees in the World Series,
playing at Haverford, I think we played a couple teams that had some innings like that. But yeah, like you obviously don't expect it at that level of play. You know, in the big leagues, you know, in a World Series elimination game for them. But like that was kind of not necessarily like their track record, but you know, they're a team that isn't built around like playing fundamental baseball because they have the skill set to go out and hit 3-run homers a lot. So I think it was just kind of stars aligning, whatever you want, whether it's us putting pressure on them or, you know, some of the mistakes just kind of coming out on their own.
right?
It was nice to see that like that was part of our presentation, that like going into that series, like, hey, they're not the most fundamentally strong team. They do make some mistakes, and when they do, we have to make sure we capitalize. And you look at that, like, yes, the Yankees messed up a lot in that inning, but you have to go back to like us at the same time. Like, you know, if not for Teoscar Hernandez hitting a double to drive in, I think 2 runs to tie the game up, like that inning doesn't really matter as much because it's like, okay, it's a 5-2, 5-3 game or something. But the fact that we were able to really put pressure on, tie it up, you know, and then Gavin Lux able to, you know, elevate on or hit a ball in the air and elevate it against an elevated fastball. Again, it's executing in big spots. And I think that was just another example of like, yes, the Yankees probably didn't have the best 5th inning, the one that they would have liked to have. But at the same time, like our guys really, you know, stepped up to the plate and delivered.
Now, again, like I said before, with these being probably the 2 biggest markets of baseball, now the Mets are arguably in that conversation. How big of a game was that, do you think, for just the market value of the game as a totality right now? Obviously, with the commissioner leaving in 2030, I believe, and like I know there's been a lot of scrutiny about, you know, how much you have like our generation watching baseball, but I think having the 2 biggest stars, the 2 MVPs, the 2 best teams in the MLB on the biggest stage, do you think that's going to have maybe some sort of lasting impact that can, you know, continually progress?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think MLB is obviously doing a lot to make the game, you know, more appealing to kind of our generation, the younger generations. Whether, you know, it be the pitch clock, so games can be, you know, the 2.5 hour range, and just kind of eliminating some of that dead time. I think it definitely doesn't hurt that, you know, you got Judge, Soto, Ohtani, Betts, like all these massive stars for the World Series. I think the fact that you know, usually before the game, like if I'm in town, I'll try to go down to the field for batting practice, and usually, you know, you get like the local media standing on the warning track, and there's maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 like people in the media standing there. The World Series, from the third base, like, you know, even with third base all the way around behind home plate to first base, was just a mob of people. Like I had never seen that many people working games before. So I think it definitely, it's not going to hurt the, you know, MLB's like progress to try to get people involved, you know, and really cheer for teams. I think the tough thing is, you know, you have a lot of these blackout rules where, and like TV deals where it's such a regional sport, where it's not like the NFL where it's, you know, turn on Red Zone, you just watch all the games every Sunday.
Right.
Like you kind of, if you're living in that city, like let's say like you're living in Philly, to watch the Phillies, like you need to have, you know, NBC Sports. So if you don't have NBC Sports, like, and you don't pay for that channel, it's a lot tougher to tune in for your team.
Right.
And I think it's just kind of also like, you know, we play every night pretty much.
Yeah,
So
I know. Yeah.
it's easy to kind of just be like, oh, like I'm not going to watch tonight. Like they'll play tomorrow. Maybe I'll catch it on Friday. But NFL, it's, you know, oh, you only get 17 games a year. Like,
right.
So it's a little easier to kind of plan your day around it. But it'd be great if, you know, MLB can really like use this as like a pushing off point. You know, it's been great seeing, like, we're going to Japan. You know, the Dodgers are going to Japan to play the Cubs. We went to Korea last spring to open the season. They do games in Mexico. They've been going over London. Like, I think it's definitely the game's in a good spot, like growth wise. It's just kind of, I think it's just kind of the narrative at this point. Like, oh, we struggle with the young generation, but I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think another part, like you said, our generation has such small attention spans. So the fact that you guys play 162 games, usually the games can last 3-4 hours. Sometimes people just aren't patient enough to watch that. Honestly, I begin to appreciate the art that baseball is, and I'm happy I'm now becoming a fan. So, but man, again, we talked about the Pirates. You said 90 wins. I wish you were right. That probably would have got us in the wild card, but nonetheless, man, I'm curious. I'm sure you scouted them at some point this year when you guys came to Pittsburgh and you guys were actually going against Skeens, and he had struck out Ohtani the first time, and then Ohtani hit a home run the second time. So I'm just curious, what do you think they need to win? I mean, maybe you don't want to comment because you're a Dodgers guy, but if you could give some insight, what do you think they need to win?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, like the pitching staff is strong with like Jared Jones and Skeens and Mitch Keller.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like getting consistent production out of their offense. I mean, O'Neal Cruz is a really talented shortstop. Cabrian Hayes, their third baseman, looks like a star in the making. It's just getting consistent offense and
Yeah.
like putting full 9 inning games together. And some good news. One of my former coworkers, a close friend, Michael Volkmer, he just left the Dodgers to go to the Pirates.
Oh,
So,
you got to connect with him. That's awesome.
yeah. So
Yeah.
he's an awesome guy, really really smart. So it's a big get for the Pirates. But we're definitely gonna miss him.
All right. Shout out him, man. Hey, well, last thing I'll say about the Pirates is please do not take him from us in like 4 to 5 years whenever his contract's up when we can't pay him like $350 million. Like, I would be kind of sick. Well, honestly, I hope the Yankees don't take him more than the Dodgers. At least I'm wanting to move to LA. I was born in LA. So if you guys take him, I'll be a little I'll be all right. I'll smooth over. Hey man, and congratulations just on being a part of USA Baseball again and being a part of the Premier 12. I was doing some research on that and just seeing that that's like the second biggest event that WBC has to offer. I'm just curious, man. Again, that's really badass. Like, I feel like what was the game planning like now with the Premier 12, knowing that you don't have like major league studs and you're working with guys who are from the minor leagues? I'm curious if there was any difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of a difference in, big leaguers know a lot, at least when working with the World Baseball Classic team in 2023. Like those guys were so established in their careers. I mean, we probably had 10 future Hall of Famers on the roster.
Yeah.
So in terms of helping them prep, like you don't have to do that much because they just kind of know what they need, what they want. Whereas on the working with some of the minor league guys and the non-40-man guys from Premier 12, it's a little bit more, not necessarily that they don't know what they don't know, but it's just they're not as like rigid in their preparation where it's like, oh, I don't want that, I just want this. It's a little bit more of just being accepting of whatever you got from me. Just like, whatever info you got, like let's hear it. Because right. I think they're still trying to figure out what works best for them. But I mean, all the guys on that team, on both teams, really were incredible to work with. It'll be interesting to see. Like, I think there were some guys in this Premier 12 team this year that will be in the big leagues this year, who are really talented, and they were a really good group of guys. I mean, we were together for 4 weeks pretty much. And we were in Mexico and Tokyo, so getting to kind of be able to walk around and explore Tokyo a little bit with some of those guys was a lot of fun. Really interesting to kind of pick their brains as well. Just because they're not, as like, I don't know, they don't have the pedigree that the guys on the WBC team had yet. Like, they still think about baseball and process baseball at a really high level. So getting to kind of pick their brains a little bit, talk shop, and just get to know them was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it must have been one hell of an experience, man, honestly. Well, hey, man, like you said, you're going to Glendale very soon, and like you guys are about to start spring training. That's like got to be a huge topic for you guys. And like I said, you guys, I've never seen such a clear favorite to repeat. And I was looking online and just seeing the fact that you guys are like 22% chance to repeat. Like I've never seen something like that. Like any NBA team or NFL team, the max amount they're going to get is like 8 to 10%. So seeing that you guys have a 1 in 4 chance to repeat, and you guys are projected 104 wins, which is also just an insane number. And obviously, you guys are going to have Otani coming back to pitch hopefully in May, and I think that he's going to start batting immediately when you guys get back. How scary like is this going to be for the major leagues? Like, is there like, can we expect like 120 wins? Like, I mean, I don't know.
It'd be awesome if that happened.
It's awesome, but like it's actually realistic for you too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you guys really wanted to be regular season warriors, you could just go out and do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I think baseball is definitely one of those sports though where it's a weird game. It's a very humbling game. Anybody can beat anybody on a given day. So I mean, yeah, it'd be sick to break the all-time regular season wins record. But like kind of what I'm going back to what I said before. Like the goal is to win another World Series. So I think like whatever comes with that, great. Like if we won a bunch of regular season games, it'd be incredible and a lot of fun. But we've done that in the past. I think we won 111, 108, and 106, and we came up short. So I don't know. I think.
Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, I know that.
To your point, like we're gonna be hunted the entire year. So
yeah,
I think it'll be fun to see kind of what this team can accomplish because, Andrew, our president of baseball ops, and the rest of our front office and executives, like they did an awesome job, really not resting on their laurels and putting together a really impressive roster for this year.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we played our potential and get it done, and hopefully can get another trophy.
Yeah, and with signing Roki Sasaki, like I'm just curious, do you think you guys as a team may have a similar approach to how you guys treated Yamamoto last year? I mean, obviously with him being a rookie and you guys just come in and win the World Series, and you guys are just going to add another Japanese player, and he's trying to be the first Japanese-born player to win a World Series, or is it? Oh no, be Cy Young. Like that's just super cool. Like I saw that, and I'm just curious, like you guys going to have a similar approach to how you treated Yamamoto? I know they're different players, so that's why I ask.
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs, the exact details of how we're going to handle the workload. I think today, our manager, Dave Roberts, came out saying that we're going to go with the 5-man rotation, coming out of spring training. And then when Shohei's back and healthy in May, go to 6-man. So, we'll kind of see what that means. I think early in the year, there's a couple off days where you can kind of play around with the rest schedule. But, a lot of the pitchers that come over from Korea or Japan, like the schedule is kind of set a little bit differently where they pitch every 6th day. So they get 5 days of rest in between starts. So right. Coming over here, it's kind of that adjustment. Like they've been doing this their whole life one way. And then to take away a day of rest can kind of mess with guys. So trying to make sure that like this, he can acclimate as easy as possible. And, hopefully we have, enough healthy arms in the rotation and can supplement from the minor leagues that we can have guys stay fresh and we don't necessarily have to push guys, too early in the season.
Yeah, well, hey, man, barring everything going well, and I know you guys are going to take it one step at a time throughout the entire year. That's why you guys are champions. You're humble champions. But if you are back in the NLCS, which I expect you guys will be, and now with the Mets also trying to stack their roster up with you guys and Lindor, Alonso, and Soto, I'm just curious, man, like, was there any gulp in your throat when you saw Juan Soto join the Mets, or you're just like, oh, shit, like, we're definitely going to have a good challenge come October?
I don't know if it was a gulp in my throat. It was definitely like I said, my family's all Yankee fans.
Yeah, that too.
My cousins on my mom's side are all Mets fans.
Okay.
So that was definitely like a fun little piece of the free agent bonanza where, my family's all mad at me. My entire family, we beat the Mets in the CS, beat the Yankees in the World Series. So they're mad at me, and then the Mets go and sign Soto. So then my siblings turn on my cousins, and then I'm just kind of sitting back, like, okay, like everyone's not mad at me anymore.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, I mean, yeah, like I think the Mets are going to be a really good team. Like, when we were doing our work on them leading up to the NLCS, I think a lot of us kind of had the feeling that like the vibe around the team, whether it be in the media or whatever, was like, oh, this team's just hot. Like it's not, like they're not good on paper, but it's a really hot team. And I think when we started looking into it, it's like, no, like this team's like they're just a good team. Like if you look at the offense last year, like they were a top 10 offense for most of the season. So, and then their rotation started pitching really well, after the All-Star break. So, even though like they don't have a ton, like as many big free agent signings as maybe we've had this year, like getting Alonso back, like you can pencil him in for 30 homers. Soto's, one of the best players in the game. We'll see what Clay Holmes does going into a starting role this year. So I think, yeah, like I don't know if there was a gulp in my throat, but it was definitely like they're a really good team. I think it'll be fun to watch them, the Phillies and the Braves, kind of battle it out in the NL East this year.
Okay, yeah. Well, do you think the Mets are going to be a team though that gels well immediately, kind of the way that you and Shohei and I mean Shohei can gel well with anybody. I mean, no disrespect, he's that good. But I'm curious, man, just with Soto, like, do you think they're going to be able to be consistent like right off the bat, or you think they'll go through a certain amount of growing pains?
Um, I think honestly, like they'll be fine. I mean, I think Soto has the reputation in his career of being like a pretty good teammate and easy to get along with. Um, and at that Mets clubhouse last year, like they had every skit in the book where it's Grimace and then the OMG and then Candelita and like they're always doing something. So like it seems like their clubhouse is a really fun-loving clubhouse. Soto, he's like 26 or 27, might even be younger than that, honestly.
Right.
But I don't foresee there being any issues. And like I said, like I think they're gonna be a good team. So at the end of the day, like if a team's winning, for the most part, you're getting along a lot better with your teammates when things are going well.
All right. Last thing I'm going to ask you is we asked you this last time, but this is the first time officially on record. What's the Pirates' record going to be? What's it going to be? How are we going to do this year? Are we going to make the playoffs? That's all I want to know.
I'll give you like 86 wins.
And we sneak in or no? We barely miss it again. It's been like 12,
I want to say that you guys sneak in.
It's been 12 years, man. I'm yearning a playoff appearance. Really,
yeah.
bad.
Like my coworker and friend is over there now.
Yeah.
Team USA, I work with their video guy Kevin Roach, and then getting to know David Bednar with Team USA. Like I have some guys over in Pittsburgh now, so I want to see the Pirates be good and snap that streak. So yeah, I'll say 86 wins and you guys sneak in.
Okay, yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm really hoping you're right this time. And go Pirates personally and go Dodgers, man. Just you being a Haverford alum, I'm rooting for you guys, but I was already rooting for you guys in the World Series easily. I do not like the Yankees at all. So that was a pretty easy decision. But yeah, we're going to have to work out something where I can get to some Dodgers games. Hopefully
whenever you're in LA, let me know. We can.
I will, man. That'll be. I should actually be in LA in late April, so
awesome.
It actually could work. Yeah, I'm doing this Grammy event, but hey, man, nonetheless, super appreciative of your time and you being able to make it for 2.0, really 1.0 officially. And hey, man, have a great time at spring training, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out there and cutting this Boston winter a little short and getting out to some sunshine and seeing all the guys. So, yeah, I appreciate it. Sounds like you guys are doing great things with the podcast. So,
yeah, man, trying. Well. Hey, 2024 champ, hopefully 2025 champ, and hopefully day after Saturday can be a little bit of part of that. We'll see. But, guys, hey, thanks for tuning in. Peace and love. Tune in for more coverage. Peace.